Hello everyone. You are listening to 108live.radio. This is Kazway Kashiopia, who will be accompanying you for the next 1 hour. I am a tarot reader, artist, and creator of my own tarot deck, which I use for all my readings. I'm also an academic psychologist and healer. I have my own practice in Johannesburg, South Africa as a life coach. I'd like to welcome you to my show, InteractiveTarot. This program revolves around the tarot cards. Over time, I'll be covering what tarot cards are, what they are not, how they are used, and so on. If you have any question, please contact me by emailing to mail2@cashiopia.com. Again, it is mail2@cashiopia.com. I'll spell Kashiopia, Kashiopia.com. I will certainly consider your question as one of the topics during the show. Closer to the end of the show, I will open an opportunity for listeners to call in so that you might be able to get a tarot reading done for clarification and guidance for your current issue. Interactive Tarot will be aired every Friday from 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. live here on 108live.radio. Stay tuned in.
So we got two guests today. One is, of course, Atma, who's the guy behind the whole 108live.radio. And the other one is Michelle Barker. Hi, Michelle.
Good morning.
I usually start my show talking about like tarot facts, like odds and ends of like, what tarot cards are and things like that. Okay. So that takes 10 minutes or so. If you guys have questions, please just shoot. And if there's something that I can answer, I will. Last week we covered how tarot cards has been historically not been used for divination, and that it's not recorded as a divination tool until like say in last 200 years or so actually. So cover how tarot cards has developed since then. The tarot cards were actually used only as a game tool for like since it was like it came on the surface of history in the 15th century, and for until late 18th century, like until one guy came out as like idea of doing hey, let's do fortune telling using these cards. And he started claiming like, this has been used for many, many years, but there was no recorded history of that. So, and this one guy in France started talking about, okay, you can use this set of cards for like telling people, like guessing or like, seeing what's going to happen. And that almost became like an art for the next 100 years. There were a few books written, some people started practicing it. And until like mid-19th century or mid 19th century, there was an occultist, a very famous French occultist, Eliphas Levi. He started associating tarot cards with Kabbalah, Jewish tradition, yes. Kabbalah. And also like there had been people who were associating tarot with occultism and mysticism. So that image started coming around, but until Eliphas Levi really clearly defined tarot in terms of with the Kabbalah, it wasn't really divination tool. Then of course afterwards there were like organizations or associations like Golden Dawn, like those so-called magic groups, those people who yes. practice ceremonial magic, and they certainly took in tarot as one of the tools for divination and spiritual study. Then, in the last 40 years or so, tarot became even more popular among regular like lay people, even those who are not into esoteric organizations. And this type of tarot is considered to be transformation tarot, and nowadays you can find all sorts of tarot decks, like any theme, like you name a theme, whether it's a fairy or dragon or crystal, plants, Game of Thrones, Hello Kitty, whatever you name. And like there you can find so many tarot cards. So yeah, is it strange to find that there isn't any recorded?
I haven't heard the Hello Kitty one. I haven't heard a Hello Kitty. I must look for that. That sounds very fascinating.
Yeah, I mean, like next week I'll be talking about why or how tarot cards work, but it's I don't know, like it's a divination. So like anything that tunes you into their subconscious mind, I think that's how it works. And if people resonate with Hello Kitty, why not, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's like I draw my own deck, and mine is far more complicated because it's based on some traditional interpretation of occultism, mysticism, and esoteric studies. But yeah, I have seen Hello Kitty deck when I was living in Japan. It's pretty cute. Of course, it is cute. Like can you imagine like a death card of a Hello Kitty, like holding a what is that thing? A scythe?
Yes.
That's very cute.
Yes. Suddenly death becomes welcoming.
Yeah.
I'd like to see that. Pretty interesting to hear about. I'm trying to imagine it.
Yeah.
Must be something really cute.
Oh, it is super cute.
And then it would take some of the fear out of it as well for people.
I believe so. And that's why it's called, transformation tarot. Because in the time of when the tarot cards were associated with occultism. Oh, don't get me wrong. It's not that it isn't now. People still are afraid of it. I think they're afraid more of unknown. But when it was considered to be like witchcraft tool.
Yes.
Yeah,
And the thing that sets people off the most is the word cult.
Yes.
Because it's now associated with the dark aspects of things. But like cult basically means a group that gathers around a specific set of knowledge.
Yeah,
systems,
well,
right?
there is a difference between occult and cult.
Yeah.
And cult is exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Occult is a concept where things are hidden, like some sacred things are hidden, and those are occult. Hermeticism or mysticism, it's about the same thing. But I think there is a connotation of darkness with occult, the word occult.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and people get scared. And of course, because of some of the concepts that tarot cards include, like death or what, I think people are just afraid that it's going to determine their future. Like if negative cards come out, then it's going to be doomed. And I think that's one of fears that people associate tarot cards with. So
Yeah, and living what's making your future happen. So I had someone draw me tarot cards the one year, and she said to me I mustn't go in the rough seas. So I certainly didn't have money for a sea cruise. And then a couple of months later I was invited white river rafting. And I immediately knew this is the rough water I'm not supposed to go on.
okay.
And I decided I'm not living the future that was predicted. So I went white river rafting and landed up in hospital on a drip.
No.
So-
Okay. Wow.
So although I tried to change the future, I didn't actually.
Wow, that's interesting because I don't do tarot reading in terms of a fortune telling, so to
Yes.
speak. Mine is more like a psychotherapy. So you have your future, you can change your future, But I do believe there are people who can do tarot reading as a fortune telling. to give them warning, advice. So, yeah.
I also prefer to hear, this is the path you're on. This is what you need to upgrade it so that you can change your future with free will. Not that you're going to be hit by a bus or that you mustn't go on rough seas.
Yeah.
But do you think that's why people are afraid of tarot or anything that has to do with divination or anything of that sort, that they feel that they're not in control of their own lives or something like that? I mean, why did you decide to go on the rough seas?
Because I was going to die having fun.
So you wanted to
I wasn't going to miss out on an opportunity because I was warned not to do it.
Yeah.
And I was young, so you rebel.
Yeah.
I think I find a lot of people are scared to hear that they are on the wrong path. They don't want to hear if they're making bad decisions. And also to take responsibility for it. Because if we know we're making bad decisions, well, then we are accountable and responsible for the outcome of our decisions.
Yeah.
And that becomes scary for people to see that they are
accountable.
Yes.
And people are even afraid to take responsibility for positive things as well. That they want to hear, okay, things are going to be fine for you, so they don't really have to do much about it. And
Yes.
every tarot reader has different style, and they have to have their practice and establish what they want to do, how they want to practice tarot cards. I really believe mine's more of a psychotherapy, and I have had a client where, well, at the end, I found out that what she wanted to hear was, it's okay, everything is going to be fine, it's going to turn out all okay. Whereas I was telling her, these are the attitudes that you're going to have, and these other things you'd have to come over. And she was going, no, I can't do that, It's like, well, but you have to. Otherwise, how are you going to, get over difficulty? And she was like, well, you're going to tell me if it's going to come out positively for me or not. I'm like, no, you have to make it. But
yes.
But I'm sure there are fortune tellers or tarot readers out there who can say, yes, okay, I drew these cards, so your life is going to be fine. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not one of them, so.
If I was in your position, I would freak out. That's like quite a weight. Somebody expecting you to
save them.
But when you are in this kind of business, you do get some of them, and it's just part of it. So it's okay. And I generally believe that we are not given harder or more difficult challenges than we can actually conquer. So it's like those who come to me, they're somebody I can handle. So, well, anyway, so I think that's enough about tarot. Let's talk about you, Michelle. So, who are you and what are you? Well, I know you are handwriting.
That's correct, yes.
I'm sorry.
So I'm from a human resources background.
Okay.
And when I was turning 40, I realized I could not keep on the path that I was on.
Parts of a corporate.
Corporate as well as HR you think is helping people, but somehow I landed up in industrial relations, and so most of my work was to do with retrenchments, dismissals.
Oh, that's quite daunting.
And exhausting. So
yeah.
I actually went and studied handwriting analysis, which was a 3-year part-time course.
That's 3 years.
3 years, yes.
Wow.
It was my long-term plan.
Wow.
And it's been the most fascinating subject. There's not a day that goes by that I don't learn something about handwriting.
Holy cow. Still.
Wow. And people think we don't write anymore. The first thing is when someone sees me and they go, oh, you're a handwriting analyst. I don't write anymore.
Oh, but we do, making shopping lists and here and there.
We do. We sign things all the time. Credit
cards.
cards. Still have to sign credit card slips. We write on little post-it notes, and in the traffic we write things to remind us of what we need to do when we get home.
Yeah.
It's almost a bit like a food diary. If you go to a dietitian, they ask you to keep a food diary. If you keep a handwriting diary and look at the end of a week, just how much you've written, you will see how much it is.
Wow, that's interesting. And speaking of signature, Atma, guess what? She has done handwriting, signature analysis of both Jacob Zuma and Ramaphosa a few weeks ago. And it got published on You magazine.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very exciting.
Yeah, I got the magazine. I forgot to bring the magazine. Do you have any
So
picture?
did I, sorry.
So,
I've got a picture on my
Yeah,
on
I
my
got
phone.
a picture. I can get it on
Oh, okay. I came across a friend, and I had a friend. He's still my friend. Well, that he was pretty interested in things like that, like handwriting analysis. But he was like speculating all the time. So
speculating.
yeah, like like from what he searched on Google, like
Oh.
yeah, like tiny handwriting means that you're secretive or something like that, and things like that. So is that true?
There is something in there. So even when you go onto Facebook and you're looking at, like I saw someone advertising a photography site, and the fonts that he uses, I would not go into a dark room with that man because you can see the issues.
Fonts like
The fonts on your computer. So even they will
Oh my
give away. It's a
goodness.
form of handwriting.
I can, you know what? I can resonate with that because there is one particular font that I use like when I do Photoshop work, or when I'm doing when I'm creating image, and if I have to put some text, there is always one particular font that I use. So yeah.
So a colleague and mine, we were studying together, and my writing's quite big and it takes up the page. Hers is tiny and it's squashed. And when she types me an email, the email comes through tiny and squashed, and my emails are justified, big. So even how we type, the fonts we use, the spacing we use, actually says a lot about us. It's the same as how we would write on the page, because writing is brain writing. So if you're in an accident and you can't use your hands and you learn to write with your feet, ultimately once your feet become used to writing, it will be the same as your handwriting, because the writing comes from your brain.
Okay.
So if there's an injury in your body, your brain will register it. It will show in your handwriting.
That's super interesting.
So when your friend looks at a handwriting and has an instant reaction, there is truth in that.
Mine's pretty tiny and squashed. Yeah. Right now I'm wondering, is there something wrong
What
with
does that mean?
Yeah.
So you also have to look at a big picture, because you can't take things in isolation. So everything has to have three signs to justify it. So everything that you look at in a handwriting, you look at things like how much space the person takes up. Does it go above the line, below the line? Is it in the correct place where it's above and below the line? Like your letter Y should go below the line.
Yeah.
If it doesn't go below the line, that tells you there's a problem, either in the sexual area or in the subconscious. It's almost your id area of your handwriting.
And if it goes way below?
Then that also tells you something about the person. So
okay, something like not an imbalance.
yeah, so you then also look at the balance of the writing. So if we look at the letter, what letter goes into all the zones? Sometimes an F will go into all the zones. So your upper zone, the middle zone and the lower zone. Then you look at the balance between the three zones. So you can from that look at a person's creativity, their daydreaming, their mental state. Often with schizophrenics, you will find the lack of reality in the handwriting.
How do you see a lack of a reality in handwriting?
I was actually sent a handwriting of somebody who was hospitalized, and they had been writing on the walls, and you could. There was no reality in that handwriting anymore. It was.
Is the analysis more scientific or intuitional, if you know what I mean?
So it's actually classed as a pseudoscience.
Okay.
And the reason being is although it is scientific, every time we write, our handwriting changes. So your hand, even your signature, will never ever be the same 2 times in a row. So if ever you get identical signatures, one of them is forged.
Yeah, yes.
Has been copied.
Yeah.
But otherwise it's called natural variation, and that takes away the actual science, because with science, every time you test it, you should get 100% same answer.
Very true.
With handwriting, you're never going to get 100% answer because it's affected by your moods.
So it's not possible for computers to do handwriting analysis then? Like if there is artificial intelligence, then it won't be...
It could if it was really programmed to read all the signs and link them. So, for example, if you're looking at a small handwriting, you can't just say it's small. You have to look at how soft and rounded it is, or how angular it is, which way the writing slants, if it's a right slant or a left slant.
It's probably cheaper to hire a human being then.
I think so.
So what do you use handwriting analysis for?
So the main thing I use it for is for personality assessment. So you can use it, a lot of corporates use it. So when they're hiring people, you can measure the applicant against the job spec. So they can scan and send me the handwriting. I never meet the candidate. I just measure them against the job spec. And you can pick up things like their attention to detail, their... whether they're a team player, what their emotional control is like, their leadership skills, their creativity, their finishing of jobs. Because how many candidates get interviewed and tell you in the interview that they have an uncontrolled explosive temper when they feel criticized?
But you can't...
But that you can see in the
Yes.
handwriting, yes.
Wow. I mean, I actually have known you for a long time, so I have heard some of this stuff, but I haven't got a handwriting done because right after I met you, I got an injury, and I'm recovering, but I haven't been able to write properly, But,
Yes.
I was saying that, like,
That trauma.
my elbow in a car accident, my wrist, and all of that. So half the time when I try to make my handwriting big, I get hand cramps and become uncomfortable. So does that also
Yes. So that physical trauma will also register in your brain, which will register in your handwriting. So I was at a corporate wellness day a week ago, and I got a bit of a fright when I looked at an employee's handwriting. And the first thing I said to her, has there been physical trauma in your body? And she said she had operations on her hands. So I said, okay, that explains a lot of it. If she hadn't answered yes, then I would have been dealing with a bit of a problem case.
okay.
So then I was able to explain, okay, so that shows the uneven pressure in your handwriting and the tiredness and because you see exhaustion and stress and anxiety and that type of thing. So then it can be explained. And so that's why often it's also important that we look at more than one sample of a handwriting. So if you're doing something important, that we measure more than one sample so that you can get a more accurate picture of the person.
How long of a writing does your client have to do?
So it depends what it's for. If I'm doing a full report that needs to stand up at the CCMA, then I look for 1.5 pages. And what we actually do is actually look at the middle part, because initially the person's trying to impress you, so they're conscious,
Sure.
and by the end they know they're finishing off and they're conscious.
Yeah.
So I disregard that and I go straight for the middle where the hand is getting tired and the person is giving away all their secrets.
And more relaxed.
Yes, the truth. And then obviously we also say that the person needs to give consent to their handwriting being analysed.
Sure.
So ideally you don't take someone's doodling. You don't take their doodling or their diary and do that, because that's their personal stuff where they've been more natural in their writing. Whereas when people write for others, they are more conscious of it and they're more respectful. So their handwriting is more the personality they would provide to the public.
But then that ties into how you can use it for corporate hiring. Because they're going to be showing more of a public face than private face in the work.
And then under extreme stress, what are they going to behave like? What is that true that private personality? Is it explosive? Are they overly sensitive? Do they cope well under pressure? Do they take shortcuts and force balance the books? Are they going to get rude with customers? How are they going to behave under pressure? Because we all say we behave well under pressure in interviews.
We want to believe that we
Yes.
behave well, but do we? Yeah.
And then it's also very good in compatibility in relationships. So if you're going to marry someone, or actually before we get to that point, let's look at dating them. Are you getting the rabbit in the pot, or are you getting a normal person?
So interesting. Have you had any interesting case that you can
I
share?
just wanted to ask that.
Tons.
I want to hear like a juicy story here.
At a corporate wellness day, as I was packing up to go, and I was the last person there, this guy appeared from nowhere with his handwriting.
Just like randomly, like, hey, I have gotten a handwriting for you.
Yes, so one of the
Just like that?
one of the employees, and
Wow.
I've diarised his name because I'm waiting to see him on the news one day.
Some kind of a psychopathic tendency.
Uncontrolled rage, aggression, sexual issues.
No, I'm curious. I want to give you my handwriting.
Not on air.
So I definitely want to get handwriting done. How can I ask how much do you charge, and how we can contact you? Or if you don't want to talk about a price, that's fine. But just
So with price, it depends on the need of the report.
Okay.
So if I'm doing a type of wellness day, more fun report, that doesn't need, because then I do it on the spot. So like I did with Jacob Zuma and Cyril Ramaphosa, I had 1.5 hours to get the analyses done, whereas you can take 2 to 3 days to properly analyse a handwriting and
like
signature.
For corporate purposes.
Yes, because also, as much as they're not supposed to rely on it as a standalone tool, it is it's companies do use that, and so it could cost someone the job. Not that they should, because you should say, okay, well, the handwriting is one of the tools that's used. How well did they interview? What are their references like? What's their CV and past experience like? But if you hear in the report that this person's got an uncontrolled temper, it's going to play on your mind in terms of hiring the person.
What is it called? Self-prophecy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So otherwise a report for recruitment is 1,800. And I can be contacted on, and for the life of me can't think now, info@Obsidian, that's obsidinfhe.co.za. So that stands for Obsidian Forensic Handwriting Examiner.co.za. Or on 082 371 5701. But you two I'll happily look at.
I'm like, right now I've got a scene in CSI playing in my head.
I was like, CSI definitely comes to my mind too. So do you do criminal?
I studied forensic, which was another 2 years. But I must be honest, I don't enjoy it. It's a bit too left brain for me, and you've got to sit with a microscope and you measure absolutely everything. I prefer analysing personalities. I love people and what makes them tick and what makes them think. So I'm more on the people side. So the forensic I don't really do. And also with the forensic I find it's quite soul destroying. So it will be a suicide note against a diary. Is it the right person, or forged will? And
So you're more on the spiritual side of the whole.
So I like looking at I like making. At corporates, I will look at a person's handwriting and then say to them, look, you should look at a course in planning because your planning skills are a bit lacking, and this results in the following behaviours. So when they walk out of there, they have a plan or a career path. So I saw a person at a wellness day, and he told me he's an engineer, and I said to him, I would never have put him as an engineer. So because he just doesn't have the handwriting. He's very people's driven. And I said to him, if anything, if he wants the analytics, I would put him into food. And he said he was thinking of studying food technology. And he's now 47. He said if only he had met me 20 years ago or 30 years ago, he could have gotten on the right path.
Yeah.
So at the age of 47, he's now going to go and study food technology.
Oh, wow.
So he can make a change, because he couldn't understand why he's grumpy every day.
See, like
And it's because you're in the wrong job. So you
Yeah.
go to
Yeah,
work
of
and you
course.
start getting irritable. It's like when I do forensics, I start getting irritable. After an hour, I need to get up and run a bit, which is not ideal.
Can you imagine how many people are in that kind of situation right now?
And, that's where those kind of psychological analysis or
Career guidance.
career guidance
Yeah.
actually helps people, that it's not about pointing out what is not right, but it's actually pointing out where they should be looking at, because things are not quite right. Negativity isn't a negativity. Negativity is a guidance that leads people to more in
Yes.
a light way.
Because we
the way
all
of
have
life.
our niche. So the first
Yeah.
thing I will ask a person is, what job are you in? And then I will look at the handwriting in relation to the job. So immediately I have a job spec in my head, because I'm from an HR point background. So I immediately know what a person does and then can see if they would be suitable. So often, like, you will look at salespeople. It's very seldom that you will meet a salesperson who genuinely wants to earn commission. Is that risk taker that believes in themselves, that can earn commission. Most people will take a job in sales with the basis that there's a guaranteed salary plus com. And so I was working at the Nedbank Golf Challenge one year with Samsung. They had launched their Notebook 4, and you write with a stylus there, and I was analysing handwritings, and there was one man, and I said to him, "Oh, you are one of the few people who needs to be in sales commission only." I said, "Because you want the BMW and the yacht and the fancy house." He said, hold on. And he ran to fetch his wife, because she had a fit, because he had just resigned from his job to go onto a commission only job.
Oh, good.
And so it was to tell her that he wasn't gambling the house away. He
Yeah.
was going to do well,
Yeah,
because
yeah,
he's
yeah.
driven enough to earn unlimited money.
Awesome coincidence. Yeah, like he obviously needed that. Well, his wife
Affirmation,
needed that
yeah.
affirmation. Yeah.
Yeah. So also when you're hiring someone, you know if you are going to get someone who's just in it for the basic salary, and are they going to deliver? Or
Yeah.
are they just going to earn the basic salary, and by the time you have followed the performance management process, it's cost you a couple of $100,000, the person moves on, and you're back to square one of hiring someone who's going to sell your product.
You can see all those.
Yes.
Wow. that was a scary confirmed yes, wasn't it?
It's a bit, yeah.
Actually, I'm starting to feel all very comfortable about it, and it's very interesting. It's
Very interesting.
very, very interesting. At first I was like, oh, I'm going to be found out, kind of thing.
Oh my gosh, but you
like
had
just listening to it, it's like, wow, this is actually quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. So I was at the doctor the other day, and he said, "So what do you do?" And I told him, and he already started getting awkward. And then he said, "Okay, let me write in your file first." And then when he finished, he started telling us, I said, "Don't worry, I read my file upside down." And I just saw his eyes go big. He's nervous of what I've found.
Yeah.
But from that, I've already, because handwriting is such a second thing for me, I can read anything. You can put any handwriting and I'll be able to read it.
Wow. That's
How has that changed your relationship with people in general, though? Like, are you always on the, on the lookout, or it just happens? It's like second nature now?
It just happens, it's second nature. But the nice thing is, I believe if you understand what makes a person tick, you can speak their language to them. So if you know somebody is very sensitive and is going to take anything you say as critical,
Yeah.
then I can go in at a much softer approach. Whereas I look at someone who's quite results driven and intellectual and just wants results, then I know to get in there, get what I need to say and get out. He doesn't want the fluffy preamble. So it gives an understanding of how to talk to a person in the language that that's going to resonate with them, that's not going to offend them. So I found it very beneficial in that way. Also, if I'm battling to understand a person, then I ask them to write for me.
Yeah.
And then the moment they write, I can then see what blocks they're sitting with.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you as well, how has it affected your life? How has it changed your life? Like, your day-to-day, like, just you as a person.
It just gives me a better understanding of people, and also it's also helped me realize where people's wounding sits. So sometimes if I would have taken something personally, I now understand that person better. So now I realize this issue is not about me. This issue is about that person's childhood issues or their self-esteem. So in that way, it's helped me understand people better and help me choose an approach with different people.
It is interesting how, like psychology also allows people to behave or like understand people like that okay, it's that person's issue, it's not mine, and I can now choose how to deal with that person, knowing the other person has gotten an issue,
Yes.
So I find it interesting that whether psychology or handwriting analysis, there is a connection, like similarity or commonality between them. But then on the other hand, there is like everything comes from the same place. I feel like everything is connected. But
yeah.
But at the same time, I do wonder: are there people who dropped out from the handwriting analysis course that you are taking? Like, meaning, were there people who couldn't resonate with a theory or practice or just couldn't get it? You know what I mean?
More, everybody was working that was on the course, and we were studying it, going for lectures at night. So that was the hardest part, was getting to the lectures and then finding the time to do your homework, and then having to do assignments and exams, and at the end of it you had to do an internship, so you had to go and find clients, and you had to do on children and compatibility in relationships and recruitment and personality profiling. So you had to it was quite a lot of work, and I think it was more that than So people did drop out.
Okay, but it's art and science that pretty much anybody can learn.
Yes.
Okay.
But I'll be honest, you can be particularly good at it, or you can be average at it.
I guess that's what I wanted to know.
Or just play terrible. Because I'm just thinking about it. So let's say artists, or anyway, you can't really.
Yes, you can go for art classes and you can learn. Yes, yes.
So I was just thinking as well, like, which personality type would you think is the most interesting when it comes to reading handwriting? Would it be like the most creative kind of people or whatnot? Because creative people have issues.
Yeah, Mozart to Beethoven to,
It's going to sound snobbish, but I enjoy intellectual people. Yeah. So I love looking at brain power. I love that. And I also like looking at, and I actually posted on Facebook the other night about empathy. Most people that you meet will say they're empathic.
Yes.
Everyone likes to think they're empathic.
Yeah.
But actually empathy is measurable in your handwriting. And most people are actually hypersensitive, but are not empathic.
Yeah. I mean, please don't take this wrong, people. Like, I have encountered a lot of people who have said, I'm so loving. And they usually aren't that much loving. Or like,
yes, or I'm a people's person.
Yeah.
It's like, really? Yeah, no, I'm not going to say anymore, but yeah.
Yes, we're on the same page.
Yeah, say no more.
So can people get a hold of you on Facebook? Are you open to that?
Yes, so my page is Obsidian Consulting.
Obsidian Consulting. Are you on Instagram as well?
I'm not, no. So I'm a handwriting person, so I'm not the greatest on technology.
I'd like...
Yes. No, sorry.
I would like you to talk about the handwriting analysis of Zuma and Ramaphosa.
Okay.
How did it go? How did you end up doing that? And what
So
did you find?
It was actually quite intimidating because I knew whatever I wrote, I'm opening myself up to legal issues.
Yeah.
And I had 2 hours in which to do it.
Oh, just like you were just given time. Okay, you do this now. And
Yes,
wow.
so they have deadlines to meet. So it was the nice thing about it was I wasn't able to overanalyze and spend days on something. It forced me to trust what I picked up the first time I looked, and very, very interesting. So Cyril Ramaphosa, I'll start with the good first.
So were you called in by the office? Or?
I was phoned by a journalist at the U magazine
Okay.
and asked if I could drop everything and do it that afternoon.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Just like that. So it was quite exciting, I must be honest.
Yeah.
And of course, I only had one sample to work from, and I didn't have time to sit Googling for more signatures and that. So I just used what was sent to me. And Cyril Ramaphosa's it's actually a lovely signature, very, very intelligent, very dynamic, very creative, very sharp at getting to the point, very ambitious, but I mean, we know that about him, and also quite a no-nonsense person. So extremely dynamic. He's a perfect person for our country at the moment to take us to the next level. Very strategic thinking. So that was lovely to see. And I can't believe I hadn't actually looked at his handwriting before, whereas Jacob Zuma's I have looked at a few years ago. And his handwriting shows the lack of formal education. So what happens is when we go to school and we get taught how to write, first we get taught how to form letters. Then from a letter, we will write a word. So if you're looking at cat, you'll write the letter C, then A, then T. Then when you progress, you move from the letter cat to the word cat to the spacing to the word dog. And then you start moving from the words to the sentences, to the paragraphs, to the concept of what you're trying to write. And it's not a sign of intelligence, because intelligence is not learnt at school.
Yeah.
But it's a sign of what you've been formally taught. And unfortunately, in his handwriting, you can see the lack of formal education, which doesn't make him stupid. It just means he didn't have the
there is a difference between
advantage.
intelligence and having
Yes.
education. Yeah.
But it shows someone who's extremely sensitive. So I would imagine he's quite hurt by all the things that I've said about him in the media.
Well, that's why he has to go, I'm fine. Everyone else is bad and I'm not bad.
Yeah.
He has to put on that mask on to cover his hurt.
The biggest problem with his signature was it didn't show a bit of rigidity. So then that means he's a bit too open to outside factors, so influence of other people, which is also linked to the sensitivity, because if you want people to like you, you will do anything for them. Whereas someone like Cyril Ramaphosa, he doesn't care if you like him or not. He will do it his way. And he doesn't mind if you criticize him, which is important.
That's professional.
So where I would have said Zuma is more of a daily, short-term planning rather than long-term strategic stuff for the country. Whereas Cyril Ramaphosa is very long-term and strategic, which is lovely.
Wow, that's quite interesting, hey?
Just from a signature.
Yeah,
That was just from a signature, yes.
Do you have any picture of that? So like we can put it on our Instagram and Facebook and
Yes,
things like
I'll
that.
get it after
so
this.
So like listeners can see what you could see from what you could read from what was written. I mean, those are just signatures, simple signatures. So it's quite amazing.
Yeah, so imagine how much you give away with a sentence and a paragraph and a diary and a...
Like I'd love to get my reading done once my hand is more.
We'll
okay.
definitely do that.
Yeah, cool.
But even with your hand, I would take that into consideration, but it wouldn't, because your handwriting is brain writing, you can never hide your brain. No matter what happens to your body, your brain will show the truth. So whether you're an introvert or an extrovert will never change just because you've got an arm injury.
Sure. Yeah. You want? I know you want to change personality, but yeah.
Yes.
Wow. So it has been a very interesting conversation.
Thank you.
We got 10 minutes to go, and I'm wondering if you would like a quick, short tarot reading.
I would love one. Thank you.
Would. Okay. I can't do like an
Just don't pull the death card.
Oh look, death card. Death card
I'm
is
joking.
my birthday card. I mean, like there is nothing wrong with the death card.
I am joking. I know death means rebirth as well.
It is. It's a restart. Letting go of anything old and not so good. So, okay, we'll do a quick reading.
Is this with your tarot deck?
It's my tarot deck.
Stunning,
You have seen
yes.
my artwork and stuff. So what would your question be?
You can.
Say
I hate to sit on the fence. What comes to you? What do you feel I need?
like I would say like a universal message or guidance.
I'd love that.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's get on.
Because
with
my life
that.
is pretty well together.
Yeah, it is, right?
It's a matter of yes. Is there a big picture thing I'm missing?
Okay, so let's see.
Am I on the right track? Path.
Alrighty. So welcome back. I was just shuffling the cards, and the card that came out for Michelle's universal message was Prince of Discs, and it's a great combination of intelligence and materialistic manifestation. So,
Oh, nice.
Yeah, like go ahead and believe in your ability of doing intellectual analysis, and that will lead to material richness. You can turn that into business. It's a very good sense of it's a good card for business development.
Oh, thank you.
So, because it has been a few years for you to let this handwriting things take off as a career.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, this is a great opportunity. I mean, You magazine came out, and you're on this show, and we'll distribute the recording. So
Thank you.
yeah, let's make it happen.
Thank you. I was quite nervous, but I've actually had fun.
That's how this whole thing started.
Oh,
with
it's
me.
like it's gonna be
I was
fun.
like, oh my god, like half the things that you were saying, like, I said, I'm like, oh, this is pretty fun.
Yeah, and I would like to call listeners to call in for tarot reading if there's anybody who dares to call in. Let's see. The phone number is country code 27 061 697 9389. I repeat, country code 27 061 697 9389. Didn't get any phone call last week, so we might not get it like this week either. But it's okay. We'll just keep trying, and
Yes.
let people know that tarot.
When it's the right time, they'll come.
Exactly. And tarot reading isn't anything scary. Handwriting analysis isn't scary. Like, what is scary, they think, is what's within. Like, it's
Yes.
not. They're not afraid of the external thing. They're obviously afraid of what is within. I don't know what that is. Like,
Well, denial doesn't make it not exist. So the sooner we face what's within,
yeah.
we can manifest
I mean, like, am I
and
not
change it.
like, am I narcissistic that I would like to know what's within? You know what I mean? Like, is that an indication of narcissism, or like, am I just not afraid of discovering what I am or who I am?
I wouldn't say it's narcissistic at all. Quite the opposite. Narcissists don't like to go within.
Oh, okay, all right, okay. Of course, I should have known.
Which I must tell you is measurable in handwriting, narcissism.
I'm like really curious what would come out from here.
Well, get writing.
I do a lot of writing actually.
Yeah, well, he's a poet as well.
Oh, wow.
Atma is
I'm
a
actually
poet.
working
and,
on something now.
can I get this
Yes.
notebook?
that I'm working on.
You sure you want this on air?
Yeah,
It's fine, we got
really
time.
curious. I'm so curious. It's messy. It's like really messy.
Oh, that's actually lovely. And I'm not being polite. Tact is not one of my strong points, which actually also shows in my handwriting that I battle with tact. So you are genuinely a high empath. So you are able to understand people, very, very good with people, but also very analytical. So you would make like a very good psychologist, analyzing people. So it shows that you're very well disciplined. You work hard at self-discipline and self-control. At the time of this writing, you were a bit stressed. And remember, our handwriting, because of it changes every single day, or as we in different moods. So it's almost like, I don't know if you wrote this at even a different day to this.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So here you were a bit more stressed. Here you were more balanced.
Yeah.
Quite strategic. So you've got a very good strategic mind, long-term planning. You can give feedback so far. I can see. I actually would have said musical. So I would have guessed you play a musical instrument. Your handwriting's quite musical, lyrical.
Oh,
Do you?
Spot on.
guitar.
Oh wow. Okay.
Look at your face. You're like
this is actually
astonished.
quite, it's amazing. Like, you can tell quite a lot just by looking at symbols that we put down.
Just some handwriting you just did without thinking.
And religion features in your handwriting as important to you. But very, your mind is very logical, it's organized, it's structured, but not in an OCD way. So your flow is very good. You're very good from getting from A to B to C to D without being bogged down with detail. You are able to take shortcuts, but you won't compromise on standards to do that. And this could be the pen. I don't know how personal you want me to get, but it looks like you could have lower back or knee problems.
My back tends to get a little painful from time to time.
Okay.
Wow, this is amazing.
So with health, I have to be careful because I'm not a doctor. So I obviously cannot diagnose. But remember when I said it's brain writing, so then you can see where the trauma sits in the body, and yours is in the lower part of your body. But it's not debilitating. And I'd possibly say you also get headaches.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Okay, Michelle, could you share your contact detail again with the listeners?
So it's my website is www.obsidianfhe.co.za, and my email is info@obsidianfhe.co.za, and my cell number or contact number is 082 371 5701.
Cool. So you guys all have heard what Michelle can do. So please contact her if you are interested in getting your handwriting analysis done.
Thank you.
Okay, now it's time to say goodbye. Thank you for listening for the last 1 hour. It was Interactive Tarot on 108live.radio. I am Kazway, your personal guide to tarot cards, and we look forward to you tuning in next Friday at 11 a.m. And oh yes, you can contact me, mail2@Kashiopia.com. It is again mail2@Kashiopia, which I will spell KASHIOPIA.com. So if you have any question about tarot, what you want to know, or if you would like to get a reading done on a personal basis, then please contact me, and see you next week. Thank you.